So let's start off with a quick recap of yesterday. Of course, yesterday we talked about how eventually the 13 colonies, they're going to get grouped into 3 regions, right, based on what they have in common. We started off with the most northern one, the New England region. The 4 colonies that are a part of that region are New Hampshire, Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island, right? So these 4 all have a lot in common. That's why we kind of consider them one region. The geography of the New England region. So what was the land and weather like? We talked about how they had really cold, snowy winters. We talked about how they had really bad, thin soil, right? A lot of rocks in it, not good for farming. How they had a lot of forests and how they had long coastlines, so a lot of beaches, a lot of access to ocean water, things like that. What about their economics? How did they make their money? So we talked about how they would lumber. We talked about how they would go fishing. They did a good amount of shipbuilding as well, right? Because they had all that lumber from all those trees. They did a lot of lumbering already. They would use that to build ships. How they did a lot of trade. And how they had a lot of really small farms as well. And that's how they made their money, mainly in New England. Those are the different jobs they would have had. What was their politics like? We mentioned that they had a big emphasis on self-government. They wanted to be in charge of themselves. They would make decisions as a community. They had the Mayflower Compact, right, which was an important document that said, hey, we all agree to follow the laws that we make together. It was the first social contract in America. What about their social and religious life? How was that going? What was religion like to them?
Repent. If you don't go to church at least 6 times today, you're going to hell.
Yeah, religion was super important, right? That was a big part of their lifestyle. They had the Puritans, the Pilgrims, those different religious groups. There also wasn't much tolerance up there, right? They didn't have a lot of tolerance in the different colonies. Like, hey, be whatever religion you want. In a lot of the colonies, you had to be the religion that they decided was their official religion. And then finally, just their generic social life, right? They had public schools, so kids could go to school. They were the first colonies to really get that going. So they had a lot of education. They had a ton of town meetings. They would keep the whole town informed about everything that was going on at these town meetings. This is where they made a lot of their decisions. And then men and women were very separate. So men would go out and they would get jobs outside of the home. The women would mainly run the jobs inside of the home or be right. So they would be like making clothing, all these kind of things, taking care of children, stuff like that. And even the kids, as soon as they were big enough, like 7, 8 years old, they're going to start working too. They'll go to school for a few hours, then come home and start working at whatever the father's job is or helping out the mother in the home. And that's a little bit about what life was like in the New England region of the colony.